Hi, welcome back. This is From Eden to Shiloh, where scripture reveals God's plan of redemption from the beginning to Christ, our Redeemer. Let's get started. From the beginning, we've seen God's plan of redemption unfolding. In the Garden of Eden, we saw humanity fall into sin. But God promised that one day the seed of the woman would crush the serpent's head. And then through Noah, we saw how God preserved humanity after the flood. Through Abraham, he established a covenant, promising Abraham's descendants a land and a blessing for all nations. That promise continued through Isaac and then Jacob, whose 12 sons became the tribes of Israel. Among those sons was Joseph, the beloved child of Jacob's old age, the one through whom God would work powerfully to preserve his people. So now we're at Joseph's story, where he began with much favor, unfortunately, but a lot of jealousy as well. His father gave him a beautiful colored coat, a symbol of affection, right? That fueled his brother's envy, jealousy towards him. And so then Joseph shared these dreams that he also had that revealed his future authority over his family, and that they would one day be bowing down to him. So his brother's jealousy turned to absolute hatred. They stripped him of his robe, threw him into a pit, and sold him into slavery into Egypt. Then they tell Jacob, the father, hey, look, he died. And they lied. That breaks his father's heart. But while Joseph's life seemed to spiral downward, God was with him. He was in Potiphar's house, and Joseph prospered tremendously until some false accusations led him into prison. But even then, the Lord granted him so much favor, and Joseph interpreted dreams for the Pharaoh's cupbearer and the baker. 2 years later, Pharaoh himself had troubled dreams, and he wanted those to be interpreted. And so they called out to Joseph. They took him out of prison to reveal what those dreams meant. And they meant 7 years of plenty, followed by 7 years of famine. Of course, Pharaoh, very impressed, then made Joseph second in command. When Joseph took the command over all of it, he was able to save a lot of food, and eventually his family and his brothers would come to Egypt and they would be saved. And he told them, hey, what you meant for evil, God meant for good. Genesis 50:20. Joseph forgives his family, and they begin to dwell in safety in Egypt, setting the stage for the next chapter of Israel's story. Joseph's life shows us that God's providence rules even over human sin. What others mean for harm, God uses for redemption. Joseph's suffering led to the salvation of his entire family. Physical salvation, right? Out of the famine, they came to Egypt to be saved. Just as Christ's suffering leads to the salvation of the world. Both were betrayed. Both unjustly condemned. Both exalted to bring life to others. Through Joseph, God preserves the line of promise, keeping his covenant alive until the Redeemer would come, the greater Joseph, Jesus Christ. Thanks for watching From Eden to Shiloh. Subscribe and share to walk with us through God's story of redemption. See you next time.